الاقتصاد في الاعتقاد. Moderation in belief. Second treatise, part 2, on the divine attributes. Fourth characteristic. Fourth characteristic. The names that are derived from these divine attributes are true of God eternally. The names that are derived for God, exalted is He, from these attributes are true of Him eternally, anteriorly and posteriorly. He is eternally living, a knower, powerful, a hearer, seer, and sayer. As for the names that are derived for Him from acts such as the provider, the creator, the exalter, the debaser, there is disagreement whether they are true of Him for anterior eternity or not. However, if this matter is made clear, it will be evident that no disagreement about it is possible. The comprehensive statement is that the names by which God are called are of 4 categories. In the first category are those names that designate only His essence, such as the existent. These are true of Him for anterior and posterior eternity. In the second category are those names that designate the essence with the addition of a negation. For instance, the anterior eternal designates an existence that is not preceded by nothingness for anterior eternity. The posteriorly eternal designates an existence with the negation of its being succeeded by nothingness for posterior eternity. The one designates an existence with the negation of a partner, and the self-sufficient designates an existence with the negation of need. These two are true of Him for anterior and posterior eternity, since what is negated of Him is negated by virtue of His essence. Hence, it accompanies the essence perpetually. In the third category are those names that designate existence together with an attribute that is additional to it and that has implied meaning, such as the living, the powerful, the sayer, the knower, the willer, the hearer, and the seer, and what is based on these 7 attributes, such as the commander, the forbidder, the aware, and others like them. These, for the one who believes in the eternity of all the attributes, are also true of God for anterior and posterior eternity. In the fourth category are those names that designate existence in relation to one of His acts, such as the bountiful, the provider, the creator, the exalter, the debaser, and others like them. These are subject to disagreement. One group says that they are true of Him for anterior eternity, since if they were not, then His having such attributes would necessitate change. Others say that they are not true of Him for anterior eternity, since there was no anteriorly eternal creation. Hence, how could He be a creator for anterior eternity? What clarifies the matter is that a sword in a sheath is called a cutter, and when it cuts during the state of actual contact, it is also called a cutter. They have 2 different meanings. The sword in the sheath is a cutter in potentiality, and when the cutting takes place, it is a cutter in actuality. Similarly, the water in a jug is called thirst quenching, and at the time of drinking is also called thirst quenching. These are 2 different usages. The sense in which a sword in a sheath is called a cutter is that the quality through which cutting takes place is present in the sword. The absence of cutting at present is not due to a deficiency in the sword's essence, its sharpness, or its readiness. Rather, it is due to another matter that is beyond its essence. In the same sense in which a sword in a sheath is called a cutter, the name Creator is true of God, exalted is He. In anterior reality, for if the creation takes place in actuality, this would not be due to a matter that was first not in God's essence, and then happened anew. Indeed, everything that is required to bring about the act of creation exists in anterior eternity. On the other hand, the Creator is not true of God in anterior eternity in the sense in which a sword in the state of cutting is called a cutter. This is what concerns the meaning of these names. It has become evident that he who says that this name is not true of God in anterior eternity is correct and intends the second sense, and he who says it is true of God in anterior eternity is also correct and intends the first sense. Once the matter is clarified, disagreement ceases. This is the sum of what we want to state in this treatise on the divine attributes. It comprises 7 articles, and the chapter on power branched into 3 questions, and the one on speech into 5 objections, and 4 characteristics that are common to the attributes that were covered. Thus, the total is close to 20 articles, but the 7 are the principal articles, although every article is founded on other articles, through which it is established. Let us busy ourselves now with the 3rd treatise of this book. On the acts of God, exalted is he. That's what's coming up next. On the acts of God.